Hey guys, okay, so today I'm feeling crafty. And what's up with my lips? So today I'm feeling a little crafty and I am going to teach you, as best I know how to do, how to make your own bath bombs. And all you need is some kind of container to do the stirring and the mixing. And I've got measuring cup, really just a cup measure because I'm just gonna guesstimate what half is. Something to stir with. You will need to order citric acid, and it sounds really scary, but it's not. I have ordered mine from Amazon. You can do that as well. I've also heard that you can get this like at the fancy grocery stores, the ones that have a bigger cooking area. That I have heard, my stomach is growling so much. You're just gonna want to get some of this because it's not gonna fizz and it's not gonna work without the citric acid. So that is a given. You have to have that. Baking soda. You need Epsom salt, and I do not have my bag anymore. You can find this in the pharmacy, at Walmart, Target, probably the grocery store. Now, if you want to get really fancy, you could grind this up even more. I've never bothered to do that, so that's all you need there. You will need cornstarch. You could totally skip this step if you want to, but I like to add some sort of oil to mine, and I have forgotten my tablespoon measure, but it's not really gonna matter. I'll tell you guys the measurements and I'm just gonna squirt and pour. This is apricot kernel oil, and I ordered this from Piping Rock, which you can see the brand is on there, but you don't have to order a specific brand. I mean, you could probably go to your pharmacy and find almond oil or jojoba oil or even olive oil. You could use olive oil. So I have done this with olive oil and I have done this with coconut oil. The coconut oil seems to set up really well because this is already in a liquid form, but when I made these the last time, I used coconut oil that was in its solid form, and I melted it so that it was liquidy when I was making the bombs, and they set up gorgeous. And then if you want to, you could get some colors. These are basically just food coloring. So whatever, you can look on Amazon and find colorants for soap making or bath bombs even, but they are just food color. I live about an hour and a half from a soap and candle making supply company, and that's where I've gotten a lot of the things that I'm about to list. So this is a liquid soap color. This is concentrated, like it says on the bottle, but it is going to give you more of a vibrant, intense color than the food coloring. I think you would have to use a ton of food coloring to make those vibrant. And I know, like with the Lush bombs, and if you guys know the answer to this, please let me know, but the Lush bombs, when you put those in, they look like normal colors on the outside. You drop them into your bath and they like completely change the color of your water. I don't know how they do that without it staining skin and staining your bathtub, especially the black one. I don't know, have y'all seen that one? Forget what it's called, but it's black, and you drop it in and your water looks like the color of a bowling ball. I mean, it is black, and I have no clue how they do that without staining your skin. And I've not tried that one, so maybe it does stain your skin. I really don't know. So, okay, so back to what I was talking about. Online, you can find a ton of suppliers that would have different types of colorants, but I would say just to get started, just go with your plain old food coloring that you can get at Walmart, or Hobby Lobby has some, just in the cake decorating or the cupcake aisle. Get you some food coloring and start with that. I have not figured out how to make the colors super vibrant and intense, so this is the closest that I can get, and this came from a candle supply shop, and this is specific for soaps. So that's the only one of those that I have. And you still have to dilute that in some water because I figured out that it is not an oil-based dye, it's a water-based dye. And if you just squirt that dye into your dry ingredients, it's never gonna mix up. And it kind of makes a neat look because you get more of a white balm with flecks of your color in there, and then it does dissolve in the water, and it's kind of a magic balm. So if you wanted to do that, you could definitely try that route. Okay, so then the last thing, I think, right? Yeah, second to last, probably the most important thing. You could do these without any scents, but what sense would that make? Haha, see what I did there? Oh my gosh. All right, so you're gonna want to buy you some fragrance oils, and these came from vacandlesupply.com. So you can go look at candle supply companies. Usually the places that are going to supply your candle scents will also tell you if it's soap safe. And so that just means it's not going to irritate your skins, because you don't want that. I would kind of stay away from cinnamon and things on that route, but you can figure that out for yourself. If they list it as a fragrance oil, then probably it does not have any actual essential oil cinnamon in it. But I'm not an expert on that. I'm just saying, for my body in the bathtub, I've not done cinnamon. There's tons of places on Amazon. I'll link to some of the places that I've tried before. The place that was within an hour and a half from me is where I got the scent that we're gonna do today. This is called High Maintenance, and I think this is their own blend of scents. And so they said, oh, actually, here's the place. It's called TylerStarville.com. TylerStarville.com. I'll put their link down below so you don't have to try to write all that down. These are ounce bottles, and I want to say an ounce is around $2 or $3. I can't remember exactly because it's been a little while since I got it, but generally I'd say, just to be safe, $3. And they do have lots of scents, and so this is one that we're going to try today, High Maintenance, which I thought was appropriate for me, for moi. Okay, so that's going to be our scent. So you're going to want a scent. I mean, you don't have to have a scent, but, you know, when you're taking a bath and you smell strawberry, let's see, what flavors do I have? Strawberry lemonade. Then I have oatmeal, milk, and honey. This one is amazing. This one smells so good. This one came from the vacandlesupply.com. It is great for a bath scent, but I have already made that one, so we're not going to use it today. And the last thing that you need, which you could probably get by with using, since we're kind of coming up on Christmas. Oh my gosh, it's not even August yet, and I just said that out loud, but I will back up. Christmas is my favorite time of the year, so I'm one of those people that does not get mad when you go into Hobby Lobby and they're already putting Christmas stuff out, but that's what I was about to say. Since they're already putting Christmas stuff out in Hobby Lobby, I think that you could get the clear plastic ornaments that, you know, you snap apart and you're supposed to be able to put stuff inside and then snap back together. You could possibly, if you didn't want to order, you could use some of those to make bath bombs. I just don't know if you're going to be able to find them small enough to work. So let me show you what I've got. These I ordered from Amazon, and they are just the little molds. Let me see if I can get them apart. Just the little molds. And they make a little ball like that, and my battery's gonna go dead. The medium size is this big. I like this size. And this is pretty much whenever you see the nice size balls, the nice size bombs from Lush or wherever you're gonna buy these from. The nicer ones are about this big, but they're like $10 a ball, I think. So you're gonna mix up your batch. This is super easy, super fun. It makes really nice gifts if you get the formula right. If you do it wrong, this is what happens. Let me show you. And you know, you could say, oh, and mine's super crumbly. You could tell people that you did it on purpose. What happened was, if you add the slightest bit too much water in your dry ingredients, it will begin to foam. It already goes into its chemical reaction, because, you know, when you throw these in the bathtub, they foam, and you know, it's just really cool. Fizz, not foam, they fizz. And so if you add, even if you add your oils, you have to drizzle those carefully, because if you just dump it all in, it will trigger the reaction. And once it starts its foaming, and it does, it kind of foams when there's no water, when it's not submerged in your bathtub, it just starts foaming and poppling. It starts foaming and fizzing, and it will just eat through all of your ingredients and you're done. And so what happened was, I put too much water in. I was playing with this dye and I was trying to get that figured out, and there was a lot of it stuck on the inside of my little bowl, and so I splashed it with water, got it all mixed up and diluted into the liquid, and then I poured that just really fast, poured it into my dry ingredients, which was way too much. And so I thought, okay, if I leave it for a few minutes, it'll finally dry out enough that it will stick together and it'll be fine. Well, I left it and I turned around and it's just growing out of the bowl. And I was like, okay, I don't think that's gonna work. So I came back and I added a little more baking soda and I added a little more cornstarch and tried to just stop the reaction and tried to get it dry enough, because you're really wanting the consistency of wet sand. And so I kept trying to get that. Well, then it was just dissolving that stuff. And so I just, every time I would look over, it's just growing on the counter. And so I ended up mixing up a whole second batch and dumping that batch of dry ingredients with no liquid, dumping the dry ingredients into that to try to stop the reaction. And I got it to where it felt like the consistency of sand. It looked beautiful. It was perfect. I went ahead and made my little bath bombs. And then the next day when they dried out, this is what happened. So these will not be gifts for anybody. They will be for me. The flavor on this, I like flavor as that word. I know it's scent, but I like to say flavor. The flavor that I have is Blue Hawaii. And it smells so good. It's kind of like a pineapple coconutty flavor, and I am loving that for the summertime. It's great. Okay, so then let me show you. So that one went wrong. Then I have a second one that went wrong. This one had a little bit too much water in it, but not quite as much as the Blue Hawaii version. This one just turned ugly. See how it's all bumpy and, can y'all see that? Bumpy and not cute. And so what happened was it was reacting. It was kind of eating itself. And so it made all these little potholes, little pithy bumps. Ugh. It's a lavender scent and it smells exactly like lavender. It's called Lavender Fields and I hate lavender. And I made these as a gift for my mother-in-law. She loves lavender. And so I made these for her, and I'm not sure that I'm gonna give her these, so I might have to do another batch of those because this was my first one. I haven't made these in a while, and so I just was in a hurry, dumped my water in, and it started reacting. I had enough water, it was fine, but it started reacting, and I could hear it even after I had finished molding them and had them sitting up on the counter to dry out. I could hear it popping and doing its chemical reaction, and I was like, those things are gonna come back and those are just gonna be eaten away. But they didn't. They finally dried up enough, and so they're just ugly. But, you know, they still work, just not for a gift. Okay, so finally, I do have a version that I did right, and so I'm gonna show you guys that. This is oatmeal and honey, and that's what they're supposed to look like. That's the perfect consistency, and they're hard. I mean, these aren't gonna fall apart in your hand. If you do it wrong, then you'll get ugly ones, but ugly ones mean more for you, right? If you're doing them for gifts, then you get to keep the ugly ones. I'm about to change my camera angle and we'll get right into what you need to do, all right? Okay, so we're gonna do half of a cup. Let me mix this up a little bit so I can get it out of there. Half of a cup of cornstarch. That's probably half a cup, wouldn't you say? Half a cup of cornstarch, 1/4 of a cup of Epsom salt. Epsom salt. Okay, in there we go. Then we're gonna do a cup of baking soda, which that's a full box. Let me see if there's enough left in my old supply. A cup of this. 1 cup of our soda. Probably not supposed to breathe all this stuff in, but I'm not too worried about it. So we have our soda, and then we want 1/2 of a cup of the citric acid. Okay, so that is 1/2 of a cup of the magic ingredient. Dump that in. I'm going to stir this up with just my spoon. Now I'm going to add my oil. And so it's supposed to be 2.5 tablespoons. So I know this is not a tablespoon measure, but I'm just going to kind of guess, because it doesn't have to be exact. I'm going to do 3 of these because I know that's not as big as a tablespoon. If you were doing coconut oil, you'd want to go ahead and melt this because you want to be able to mix it in with everything else. And now here's the trick. This is very important. Once you have your oil, this is what you want to add your scent to. This is kind of a strong scent. This is the one that came from TylerStarville.com. And I'm going to do 1/3 of this bottle, which should be 1/3 of an ounce because this is an ounce bottle. Mix that up. Mix that up really good, and it smells amazing. Okay, so this is important. You want to just carefully put that into your bowl. A little at a time. It is starting to kind of react. Okay, it's not as detrimental with the oil as it is with the water. The water, you definitely want to be careful. So we're just going to stir this up. And it smells great. Now, one thing that I didn't mention, if you didn't want to use fragrance oils, you could always use essential oils. So, you know, lavender, lemon, any of the essential oils, if you want to make up your own scent, go for it. Mine are just pre-packaged, pre-made chemicals that you take a bath with. I just want a little bit of this water. I'm trying to figure out how to do this so y'all can see. I just need like maybe that much. What is that? I would say that's 1/2 teaspoon to start with. We are going to put some red food coloring in this water. I'm going to tilt the bowl so that it has more of the water on one side and put my food coloring in that water. And, all right, and then just mix your food coloring and your water together. Like I was saying earlier, if you didn't do this step and you just squirted the food coloring straight into the powder, you'll have little clumps of food coloring and it'll color your water, but it won't color your bath bombs. All right, so there we go. And then just, whoop, see it reacting already? All right, so now just stir, stir, stir. It's supposed to feel like wet sand. You know, you just have to get your hands in there at some point. It's a little dry. It doesn't feel like wet sand to me. It feels damp, but not really wet. So I really need I really need some more water, and I want the rest of that coloring. So I'm going to get a tiny bit more water. I mean a tiny bit. And try and rinse the bowl out and get the rest of that food coloring out. I put 3 drops of food coloring in that water, if y'all couldn't see that. Okay, that's a little bit better. And scoop and push it together. Wiggle it like this until the 2 halves come together. And if you have the right consistency, it should just pop. Oh my goodness, look at that. Pop out on both sides. Now that is pretty perfect. Usually for this recipe, I can get, let me see. I can get 3 of the large bombs and 2 of these medium ones. If you get your bomb and it's not wanting to come out, or even if it does, and you're just worried about it, you can, oh, but see, our consistency is perfect. I mean, they are just popping out like they're supposed to. And they're not fizzing, they're not cold and moist and reacting. They are perfect. They're doing exactly what we want them to do. Okay, so I'm gonna scoop that up. Scoop this up, put them together, and wiggle. And like I said, they dry out like pretty fast because you've got all these things that are having chemical reactions in there. They're going to keep drying out. So you can keep adding water if you are filming a video and keep talking a whole lot more than you normally would. So if you're worried about not getting them out, I'm sure you've noticed that some of my molds are beat to heck on the outside. And the reason why is because when I first started doing this, I didn't have my recipe correct. I didn't have my ratio right. And so they did not want to come out of the mold. And so you are supposed to tap on the outside of the mold. Well, I was beating on the mold trying to get them out. So you don't have to do that. You can tap on your mold if you're worried about getting them out before you take them apart. Okay? But if your recipe is good and your ratio is consistent, then you should not have a problem. Mine's really not feeling like wet sand. Mine's feeling like dry sand, but hey, it's working. Look at that. See, now they're too dry, and they will start drying out the longer that you're working with it. So you want to kind of do this pretty quickly. So I think we may want to add a little tiny bit more water. That's pretty much it, you guys. Bath bombs. Okay, so there you have it. That is how you make the bath bombs. These, usually you want them to dry out for about 24 hours before you try them out. I'm usually so impatient that they're still crumbly and soft, and I'll throw them in the bathtub anyway the first night because I just love them that much and I want to get to it. And if they're ugly already, those are the ones for me. So sometimes I'll try to just sabotage it, you know, so that I can have them for myself and not feel bad about it. So anyway, all right, you guys get to making your bath bombs and let me know how it turns out. And if you find an amazing scent that you're just totally in love with, let me know that too and where you found it, because I'm always up for new flavors and new scents and new suppliers and all that good stuff. Okay, so if you guys have enjoyed this video, if you'll subscribe and hit the bell, that would be awesome. And I will see you on the next one. Bye, guys.